was supposed to be one of the best nights of our lives, not the last. In the beginning, despite not having a date myself, I was optimistic about how the night would go. All my friends had dates, but we were going as a pretty big group, which helped me feel less like the odd man out, even though I still technically was. As far as who those dates were though, some were better than others. My best friend Kaj was going with his chill girlfriend of a few months. They were the it couple, I guess. Most of the other guys just brought whoever would go with them, but without a doubt, there was one couple that was the absolute worst. Our old friend Patrick and his on and off girlfriend Lindsay. Patrick was always the jerk of the group, and he ended up getting with the meanest bitch at school, creating a toxic, volatile combination. Initially, Patrick was supposed to be the other guy going stag in the group besides me, which would have been nice. When it came down to it though, they must have hooked up a few days before prom, leading to Lindsay joining our group at the last minute. And of course they were fighting the entire night. We did our best to tune them out so we could enjoy ourselves and make some good memories. But Patrick and Lindsay were in the background of every scene, spoiling the good mood with their endless bullshit. At some point, thankfully, they disappeared. With them gone, we could finally really party. We passed around the secret flasks, did some dancing, turned up, let loose, whatever you want to call it. When the venue closed, our group headed to the far end of the parking lot. The whole group was vibing a lot better than I expected at the beginning of the night. Even the girls who were kind of bitchy at the start had really loosened up. At this point though, everyone was saying goodbye to each other and slipping out of their prom suits and dresses into more comfortable clothes. Some of the guys were actually lucky enough to be going home with their dates, including Kaj of course. But for the most part, this was the end of the evening. All the girls were in a circle, trading their Snapchats and saying a million goodbyes like they'd already become best friends. And us guys were hanging around Kaj's car. It had been a minute since we had all hung out, and in the back of our minds, we knew it would be one of the last times we'd be together once we finished senior year. However, one guy was still missing, and even though his absence had let us all have a lot more fun, I still remember thinking of him for a passing moment. And just then, his girlfriend walked past us, his ex-girlfriend judging by the look on her face. One of the girls called out to Lindsay, but she blew them off. If she had said anything back, it definitely would have been nasty. She just got in her car and peeled out, making the tire screech so loud it made the whole parking lot turn their heads. Just a few seconds after Lindsay hit the road, Patrick showed up. I thought for sure he was wasted or high on something, but he wasn't. He was stone cold sober and completely unhinged, scratch marks on his face, bloodshot eyes, sweating profusely, and angrier than we had ever seen him. Mad past the point of reason, just pissed off at everyone and everything in his path. We had all turned to look at him, thinking we'd wave and say what's up or something, but before we knew it, Patrick was already ruining everything. He slammed into us, pushing us all apart. He started screaming that we were all backstabbing pieces of shit, that he'd fight every single one of us. We had no idea what to say. Only one of us had the nerve to say anything. It was Kaj.
Patrick, bro, what's going on? We didn't do anything.
Don't lie to me! I saw you talking to my girl! You think it's okay to flirt with her? To feel her up? Huh?
Dude, none of us did any of that. She literally just walked past us and didn't even say anything. Right, guys? Ladies? We all saw the same thing, didn't we?
Kaj made the honest mistake of trying to reason with Patrick. For a second, we all thought it would work too. We were just beginning to nod in agreement, ready to prove to Patrick that nobody had touched or spoken to Lindsay. But then, Patrick pulled a knife. Nobody had time to react. As soon as we saw that thing, Patrick was lunging at Kaj. Kaj put his hands up, but it was too late. Patrick broke through and stabbed the blade right through his chest. It was pure shock for everyone. It happened so fast. I swear I blinked and Patrick was gone, with Kaj standing there still on his feet for a mere moment. Then he collapsed. Some people rushed to help Kaj. Others went to hunt down Patrick. Somebody started crying and someone else called 911. I just stood there like a helpless idiot. In the end, none of it mattered. Kaj died in the hospital later that night. Patrick got arrested, and he'll spend the majority of the rest of his life behind bars. He threw away his own life when he took Kaj away from us. Prom was supposed to be a night for us to remember forever, but my best friend never lived to remember it at all. A Stevenage man who stabbed a student to death on his prom night has been jailed for life. Patrick Sharp Mead, 20, was given a life sentence for taking out 18-year-old Kajetan Migdal in a vicious attack after he and his friends left their school prom. The school friends were getting changed by Kajetan's car after the event before heading to meet other classmates when Sharpmeat approached them. He challenged them, mistakenly thinking they had been following or speaking to his ex-girlfriend, who had walked past the group moments earlier. He then pulled a zombie knife from his trousers and stabbed Kajetan in the chest. Sharpmeat fled the scene, returning briefly to his nearby flat to hide the murder weapon in his mattress. Kajetan, who was left fatally injured, sadly didn't make it the next day in the hospital.
When I was a sophomore in high school, a senior boy asked me to go to prom with him. The boy's name was Jeff. All I knew about him was that he got picked on by the other kids in his class because of his meek, soft appearance. He wasn't ugly, just not my type. Before the dance, Jeff came by my house for dinner with my parents. After dinner, Jeff drove us to prom. Things were fine at first. I was just waiting for him to stop being so tense. Our first and only dance of the evening was stiff and clunky. At the end of the song, he walked me over to the bleachers and told me to wait while he went to the bathroom. I waited and waited for over half an hour, feeling completely unwanted. He had abandoned me. I was sure of it. Fighting back tears, I stormed outside to the parking lot. By complete surprise, that's where I found Jeff, sitting in his car, cramming McDonald's down his throat. I confronted him. Then we bickered like a bitter old married couple for a while. I worked up to calling him something like a cuckold, prompting him to call me unbreedable. I was more than ready to leave, so I told Jeff to take me home. We arrived back earlier than my parents expected. Jeff and I only kept the charade going until he left. Obviously, I never expected us to have a second date. I didn't receive any pressure from my parents to follow up either, which made it all the more surprising when he called the house just a few days later, and I felt a strange inclination to give him a second chance. This time, he was inviting me over to his house for a party. Suddenly, I thought maybe the cowering slug I'd gone to prom with was merely the product of some severe nerves, and now that the ice was broken, he could show me his true colors. I was right, of course, but not nearly in the way I expected. That evening, I told my parents I was going out with friends. In reality, I was having them pick me up just to drop me off at Jeff's. It wasn't until they drove away that I realized there weren't any lights on inside the house. It made me double-check if I had the right address, and indeed, I did. Unable to retreat, I knocked on the door. Nobody came to open it, but from inside, I heard Jeff's voice calling me. Reluctantly, I opened the door. The house was somehow darker on the inside than it appeared from the curb. The air was stale and dusty, with just the slightest smell of burning wax. His voice kept calling me. I found the candles lighting the way. I eventually found myself in the dining room, lit only by the same flickering candles, where I saw the other guests in the house. They were too young to be his parents, but too old to be from school, almost like random strangers pulled off the street. They didn't turn their heads to look at me. They didn't even say hello, just kept staring straight across at each other. At the end of the table, Jeff sat with a horrid smile on his face. There was no food at the table, no drinks. All the same, Jeff held out his hand and told me to sit across from him.
Jeff, you said this was a party. What kind of party did you mean?
Bridget. If anything, this is a summoning party.
What, like a seance?
Of sorts.
Who, for Satan?
They certainly think so. But no, they're here for us. All at once, the other people at the table snapped their necks to look at me. I tried to get up, but the people sitting next to me grabbed me and held me down into my seat. I strained to see, to look for a way out, but all that became visible was Jeff crawling onto the table. He stood on top of it, then walked towards me, My eyes adjusted as quickly as humanly possible, only to see the most inhuman look on Jeff's face, his hands wrapped around my head, burrowing through my hair. All at once, the grip on my head and hands tightened. I jumped out of the seat, slipping through their grasp, and ran out of that house like no tomorrow. I ran until I found my friend's house, where I took refuge for a few hours, until I had the courage to go home. I wanted to tell her exactly what happened, but I made something up. It didn't feel real. I just said he had tried to kiss me and I got scared. I didn't mention anything else. I did my best to forget about it. I managed pretty well for years, until I saw a familiar face on the news. A serial killer had been caught. That serial killer was my first prom date, Jeffrey Dahmer.
Jeffrey Dahmer attended prom in Richfield, Ohio, with his date, Bridget Geiger. He was remembered as painfully shy, and just days after this event, he committed his first murder. Dahmer was described as polite but an extremely anxious and awkward date. Geiger's mother even had to help him pin on her corsage because his hands were shaking so severely. He barely spoke throughout the dance. He excused himself to go to McDonald's to grab food, got lost on the way back, and essentially vanished for hours before returning at the end of the evening. This prom photo is known as one of the most unsettling artifacts because it was taken just weeks before Dahmer claimed his first victim. In June 1978, shortly after graduating high school, he murdered a hitchhiker named Stephen Hicks, kicking off a 13-year killing spree.
We wanted prom to be awesome, so I had the idea to get a limo. Everybody pitched in for it. Me, my 4 friends, and even all 5 of our dates helped too. Earlier, everyone had paid me and put me in charge of paying the limo driver. When he showed up, I went out before everyone else to give him the money. As he rolled down his window, the first words out of his mouth were,
"Hey, little man, all the girls in there coupled up already? Or did you leave me some stragglers?
What?
You know, some scraps."
Yo, I don't know if that's some kind of joke, but for your information, everyone is taken.
Oh, never mind me, man.
It was creepy as hell, but then he played it off like he just had a weird sense of humor, so I didn't know what to think. Besides, everyone waiting inside my house, ready to pile in and roll up to prom in style. I didn't want to disappoint them just because I thought the limo driver had an off vibe. I handed the man his payment. Then I went back inside to let my friends know it was time to go. A few minutes later, we all crammed into the limo. It was smaller than expected, and the driver never rolled up the divider window. I caught him staring at us in the mirror the whole time. Everyone else could tell something was up with him as well, but nobody said anything. Of course, when we got to prom, he started acting like he was planning to come in with us. We tried to tell him it was for students only and we had all bought tickets as well, but he didn't care. He still followed us. The only reason we got away from him was because he was fat enough that even the girls in heels could easily outpace him. Hours later, when prom was over and it was time to get back in the limo for the drive home, I realized what kind of shit I had gotten us into. When we opened the doors, crawled in, and sat down, the divider was up, lulling us into a false sense of security that he would just follow the script, using GPS to drop everyone off at their homes, ending back at my place, until the divider came down. He was staring back at me with a look of disgust and hatred. We were all thinking the same thing. What had he been doing in here for the past 4 hours? How messed up did he get? We soon realized he couldn't even drive anymore, hitting curbs and nearly running over pedestrians just getting out of the prom parking lot. We were all begging him to just pull over and let us out, but he wouldn't stop. Then one of the guys said screw it and tried to open the door and jump out anyway. But it was child-locked. He trapped us. As the realization set in, the panic took over.
If you boys want out so bad, I'll drive you home. You just gotta leave the girls with me for the night.
You're sick.
What the hell is wrong with you? Stop being a creep and let everyone out.
I'll kick you out first. All you had to do was leave a girlfriend behind for a few minutes, but you had to hog all the bitches to yourself.
Oh my god, do something!
He ain't gonna do shit.
Just stop the car, you bastard! As the batshit crazy limo driver sped and swerved like he was trying to kill us, everyone was looking at me. I'd brought them all into this guy's car. This was all my fault, but I had to do something. I unbuckled my seatbelt, giving it up for someone else. Then, I went and did the only thing I could think of. I ran up to the front of the cabin, then threw myself through the divider. I only got about halfway in, but I could still reach for the keys. I thought if I could just turn them back or rip them out, I could at least bring us to a stop. But then, as the limo driver fought to push me back, he finally lost control. We spun out, careening through a red light. I saw the headlights coming straight for me, right before the limo spun a final quarter turn. I heard the truck horn blaring. Then, everything went black. I woke up in the hospital. I was one of the lucky ones. I was thrown into the windshield, nearly ejected from the vehicle, where I would have been crushed under the semi-truck that hit us. 2 of my friends died, and most of them back there suffered serious injuries that will permanently alter the course of their lives. The person most unscathed, like always, was the drunkest, the piece of shit driver. I still can't shake the guilt over what I did and didn't do that made that night turn out the way it did. But when it comes down to it, everything is the limo driver's fault. Because of him, prom night will always be the last good night of my life, right before everything was wasted.
2 teens are dead and 2 are hospitalized after the car they were in was pinned beneath a semi-truck after a high school prom. 4 teens were trapped in a Tesla that became stuck beneath the truck's trailer. Madison Sims and Samuel Brown were pronounced dead at the scene. 2 other teens in the car at the time of the wreck were taken to the hospital with injuries, but are expected to survive.